Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. I'm Terry, your host, coming to you from Auburndale, Florida. I'm here in a loading dock. Been here an hour and actually longer. I don't know how long I've been here. Over an hour. I'm backed into a dock with my doors closed. I'll tell you what's going on with that in a second. But take a look at this video, and then I'll come back. Okay, this is trucking 101, kids. So this gentleman just put a rubber chalk. Sorry, my mind went blank for a minute. He just put this rubber chalk under his tire with the idea that he was gonna slide his tandems. You notice all he's doing is grinding the rubber chalk down on the pavement. Okay, and you know the reason the tire, the tandems aren't sliding is because there's a pin in it. But the way you get the pin out or do anything like this is not with a rubber chalk. So just don't do this. Figure out how to get the pins to release. And by the way, the answer is, first you need to understand how the whole system works and that there's airbags for the pins if they're not manual. But the second thing you need to understand is how to get them to unlock. And you're gonna have to rock the trailer back and forth. And then the other option is get out your ball peen hammer and go back there and whack them until they come out. But don't do this. I've never seen it work. Okay, so follow up to that video. I got my ball peen hammer, I got my gloves, and I got out and I went over there to try to help him. And at first I was like, maybe he doesn't know how this operates. But then I did it myself, right? And he was trying to hold the trailer brakes with the lever in the truck. I don't know how old that Volvo was, but for those of you who haven't been driving very long, or I don't know, just have never had a truck with it, back in the day, right, all these tractors came with a trailer brake, like a manual trailer brake that you could apply here in the cab. And a lot of old timers would be like, yeah, you just drag those trailer brakes going down the mountain and keep your trailer from jackknifing and stuff. And but now I haven't seen a truck with one of those in a while. I mean, I know they're out there obviously because he had one. And then I was like, and I was telling him, make sure the red knob's pulled out, and I got the pins released and everything. But even with the red, the trailer airline with air cut off to it, I don't know what was going on. I don't think that valve is working right, because I got up in the cab and made sure that it was pulled out, and it was still like the wheels were just turning, like he's got no trailer brakes. So I was like, and I told him though, I said, that chalk is never going to work. If those brakes won't hold, that chalk is never going to work, because he just kept backing over it and scuffing his tires on the pavement, and I'm like, that's not going to work. But he had that chalk, so it wouldn't surprise me that he's done that before. But that company needs to get those trailers, I think it's the valve in the tractor that's messed up. It's just it totally leaks by. And I don't know if they did that on purpose because they have that trailer brake, but when he was first trying to back over those tandems, because that's really what you're doing, right? With the trailer, you're backing over the tandems or moving forward over the tandems. You're not sliding the tandems as much as you're moving the trailer over them, right? And because the tandems are supposed to be stationary, he was holding down on that manual trailer brake, but apparently that wasn't enough air pressure to hold the trailer tires still while he was sliding across it. So I told him, I said, and I will say that English is not his first language, but I said, maybe go to a truck stop or at a place and get up against, get up against a piece of concrete and slide them. Or better yet, get the system fixed because it's not working as advertised. Yeah, so getting back to that, on the sliding the tandem. So I had a guy come up to me one time, and we were at the Cargill. It was I had a trainee with me. It might have been Paul, but it was quite a while ago. It was cold outside, and we're at Dodge City at the Cargill, and this dude comes schlepping up, and it's dark. It's middle of the night, and I'm back there, and we're sliding our tandems and stuff. And this dude comes walking through in between the trailers, and he's like, the dude was little, like he was like 5'1", and he's wearing like insulated coveralls and stuff, right? He's like, hey, you got a wheel chalk I can borrow? I'm like, yeah, for what? Like, I was just curious. I wasn't gonna say no either way. I was like, yeah, for what? He's like, I gotta slide my tandems. Can't get my tandems to slide. I'm like, I give you a wheel chalk, but that's not gonna work. And I'm kind of one of those people where something can work once, but it doesn't mean that's the right way to do it or that it's gonna work any other time, right? Like, sometimes it's just dumb luck. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go and get some chalks, and a little while later he comes back. The chalk is freaking destroyed. It was brand new too. I had never really used it. I got it at the Prime store, and this chalk was like black and shiny, right? And he comes back, and it's just like this it's just like a rubber mashed up ball, And he's like, hey, here you go. And I'm like, just keep it. Merry Christmas. I said, did they slide? He's like, no. I said, yeah. I didn't think they would. And here's the moral of the story, right? If you can't get up against a curb, that chalk is really not going to do anything, because once a trailer's loaded, and I'm going to get a little scientific here because science is real. There is this thing called the coefficient of friction, and if you don't have a high enough, the coefficient of friction on the trailer tires to the ground has to be higher or as high as the force that you're putting on the trailer trying to move it. Now, there's some mathematical equation, but basically, like this guy you just saw, we're here in Florida, his tires aren't hot, and he's on pavement that has a kind of a layer of this dirty soil, sandy stuff that you have almost all over Florida. And I went out there, like I said, and tried to help him, but the trailer's got problems. And I've had trailers that, had air problems. And the thing is that once if he was empty, the dude that was just right here, or even the guy at Cargill, because I know he was picking up a loaded trailer, if this guy was empty, then that chalk and just, holding the wheels a little bit might have been enough to overcome that trailer, to hold those wheels while the trailer slid over. But once he was loaded, there's way too much weight, because now, right, you got that track in there, right? Well, you got metal against metal. It's smooth, but it's still metal against metal. You got to overcome that. And if that thing's not been greased in forever, yeah, it's not going to work. So just pro tip for you kids, the equipment's got to work right for you to do what you need to do. Like, if you got to do some jury rigging, like Rube Goldberg crap to get stuff to work, go to a different company or demand they fix stuff. You don't have an obligation to drive equipment that's not in good mechanical shape, doesn't function properly. Okay, so that was a little trucking 101. I have all these little things in my mind, and I'm gonna try to share them. I mean, a lot of drivers are gonna know these because they're experienced too, but I'm gonna try to share just one little tips periodically about, you know, things that have made my life easier on the road. So anyway, I wanted to talk about a couple of trucking companies. So I brought up Forward Air a while ago and how they went and got somebody from the D League who had been the CFO at Yellow to be their new CFO. And I don't know what their quarterly numbers are going to look like. I mean, we're starting to get into July. We should start seeing Q2. So Q2 ended on June 30th, quarter 2. We should start seeing quarterly numbers from companies, I don't know, in a couple of weeks. You know, it'll be earnings season, and it'll be interesting to see what they're doing. But here's what they did that, you know, we talk about doubling down, right? They hired another guy that had been at Yellow and was, you know, left right before the company went into bankruptcy, and you know, to be in their corporate finance department. And I'm like, you know, I just, it kind of bothers me, right? I've always said, you know, you look at baseball, or you look at coaches, right, in sports, college, pros, whatever. You could have a guy that had one good season, and some team will go crazy and pay them like the very top of the market. And then, and you see this in college football, guy has one good season at a mid-major school, and they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna win a national championship for us in the BCS. So, you know, he worked wonders at Okefenokee State. Let's bring him to, you know, pick a school, right? Let's bring him to Mississippi and he'll win us a national championship. Or let's bring him to Virginia Tech, he'll win us a national championship. And I'm like, no. I said, you know, and schools do that all the time, and it you know, it almost never works. And because this idea that one person is making this enormous difference, it's just false, right? Teams are teams, and just like in you know, like you have a baseball manager you have some baseball manager that gets fired from one team, his career record is below 500, and some other team would be like, yeah, that's our guy, where's my checkbook? It's like, what gives? And here's the thing, you know, I was talking about how trucking companies treat truckers, but look at the situation at Forward Air. They're like, hey, there's a bunch of dudes that couldn't get it done at a 100-plus-year-old company. This is a company that had market share, had a long history, had a solid, stable workforce, and they helped run it into the ground. They all made a bunch of money, but their truck drivers, their dock workers took it in the shorts ultimately. And how is it that somebody, you know, and that the answer to this is this: all these people that have more money than you and I, that think they're better than we are, they're not better. They're not smarter. They don't work harder. They're not better husbands or fathers or wives or sisters or whatever. They're not better at their jobs. In fact, in a lot of cases, they suck at their jobs, but they went to the right college, they were in the right fraternity, or their dad was in the right fraternity or went to the right college. And they've never done well in their entire lives, but they've been handed stuff constantly. And I mean, how else do you explain a company going, yeah, we think the best guy, I'm just going off. we're in really serious financial trouble because these goobers did a horrible deal and everybody hates it and we're getting sued. So let's hire a few guys from this defunct company that had a spectacular fall from grace. Let's hire them, because I'm sure that if we're gonna go down in flames, it would be nice to have guys who've already crashed the freaking plane into the ground. They already know what it's gonna look like. I mean, what else? Because how can could anybody go, yeah, these guys turned yellow around, so we want them. They're workout specialists. Well, no, they didn't. They bailed out right before that plane hit the ground. Right? They're like, yeah, we're in good shape, and it's like, why is the altimeter doing this? And he's like, no, nothing to worry about. Hold on, let me grab my parachute. That's what happened. You know? And all those people that were executives, and when the bankruptcy happened, they're just like, all right, good luck, everybody. Hope you do well. Hope your parachute opens. And poof, down to the ground they go with their golden parachute. And meanwhile, everybody else is left holding the bags. You go by I go by old yellow places, and I go by like truck auction places. There's like 800 yellow pups for sale. That's their legacy. And yet another trucking company, another company that's publicly traded and apparently claims to want to do well, is hiring these people. How is it that they can get a job? They shouldn't be able to get a job bagging groceries at Walmart at this point. They're incompetent. You know, and they're like, oh, market forces and, you know, contraction, and we hit headwinds, and they got all these words for it. You know, that's the same thing that happens when a trucker has an accident, right? Weather forces, contraction of the road, cut off by four-wheelers, but they don't care if you do something wrong. And that's what's wrong with America, right? It is not a meritocracy. It's not about working hard. That's a myth. Right? These guys just suck at their jobs, but they fail upward. And you see it all the time. You see, you know, if you watch long enough, you see it all the time. And so my mantra is, don't give them an inch. Hold them accountable. Put your foot on their throat if you can, because they don't deserve anything. They didn't earn it. You know, they're not self-made millionaires or whatever. I mean, I look at the bios of some of those guys at Prime, and I'm like, how are they, like, they should be like the produce manager at a grocery store with that bio. But yet, they're part of a cult. And it's not just at Prime, it's everywhere. And speaking of companies that don't treat people well and are probably very cultish, if I had to guess. Did you hear about this thing with TMC? So TMC is being sued by a black truck driver for discrimination. And what this comes from, and and it's kind of funny, I met this nice dude yesterday when I was picking up my load. He has dreads. And what happened is a driver got his CDL, got hired by TMC. I think he already had his CDL, got hired by TMC. He goes there, he's going through their orientation, and then they call him into the office and they're like, hey, yeah, you're gonna have to cut your hair. And he has dreads, and he said something about growing it, and he lost his father or something like that. And you know, the thing is, right, like with some people in some people's belief systems, their hair is part of the belief system, and that's across many religions, right? Sikhs, Muslims, Jews, Rastafarians, any number of people. Hair, facial hair, and hair on your head is part of that. Is part of their religion and their belief system. So, and here's the thing: TMC apparently didn't tell this guy beforehand that, hey, we got a problem with dreads. And here's the issue, right? TMC has been sued for this before, And, you know, a lot of times people say, oh, well, you know, you can get a lawyer to take any case and you can get somebody to sue for any reason. And that's sort of true, but but a lot of it is sort of untrue. And I'll tell you why. I worked in, when I was in law school, I worked in a law school, and in a law firm that did personal injury, medical malpractice, Social Security disability claims, and also workers' comp. And you know, you say, well, why would a lawyer need to do workers' comp? Because workers' comp insurance carriers refuse to pay people for valid claims. It happens all the time. But what I know from working at that firm, everything they did was on a contingency, right? Like, they didn't make money if they didn't win. And lawyers, and this is going to be true with this civil rights case, right? About this dude's hair at TMC. And that is that most lawyers typically do not take cases, even if they don't want to get paid for the case per se. They don't take cases that they don't think have merit, because you hurt your reputation by bringing lawsuits that are without merit, and as a lawyer. And you know, if you're pro se, if you're not a lawyer, you could just sue for whatever, and people do that, right? But the fact that this guy has a lawyer and who's bringing this lawsuit tells me that it's certainly, the case has merit. And you know, and here's the thing, right? Like, hair has been used. People's hairstyles have been used as weapons against African Americans. And you know, if I were black, and even I'm not black, but I still wouldn't go to TMC if I knew that they discriminated against people because of hair. Now, you can have a requirement that says nobody gets to have long hair, but then why would you bring a guy to orientation? Wouldn't you say that up front? And the driver that I was talking to that had the dreads, he worked for Abco. He said, man, they sent such a detailed list. They said everything that you got, how you got to dress, how you got to do this, how you got to do that, even before you got to orientation. And here's the interesting thing is, it'd be interesting to see, you know, because apparently, like, the guy that owns TMC used to be some gyrene, and it's like, okay, does everybody have a high and tight? Does everybody have a moat, a phase 3, whatever you want to call it? I don't think everybody's head at TMC looks like mine, or their face looks like mine, clean shaven, that is, not boyishly handsome. But you know, I know some companies out there like what's the company out of North Little Rock? Jimmy's Road Life. He's on YouTube. Check him out. But Jimmy's Road Life works for Oakley. It's funny because a Oakley truck just pulled in next to me, but it's a different Oakley. This is the Oakley out of Florida. But the Oakley out of North Little Rock, they have a requirement that you can't have a beard. They tell people that going in. You can't have a beard if you want to drive here. Now, the weird thing about that is they're all independent contractors at that company, but whatever. You know, that's their rule. You can't have a beard. And, you know, I mentioned that one other time, and somebody's like, oh, it's because you might have to wear you know, an SCBA, a breathing apparatus at some of the places they go. And I'm like, you know, first of all those airline host masks, SCBAs, Scott Air Packs, whatever you want to call them, they're all positive pressure. Even if you have a beard, and what I'm saying is, you don't need the seal, because what happens is they push air out. So even if you don't have a perfect seal, as long as the tank has sufficient air pressure, it's pushing any toxic gases away from the face mask. Little fireman aside there. But anyway, I just feel like if you're thinking about going to TMC, go somewhere else. Go to Melton, go to Maverick, go somewhere else, because that to me was just total BS. And I hope he wins his case, And even if he doesn't, it still doesn't mean he wasn't discriminated against. And you know, it's just crappy to not say something up front and have a guy come out to Des Moines and, you know, get sent away. And I'm sure that his record is going to say something like, you know, failed to complete orientation, or was terminated because he wouldn't cut his hair. You know, some bull crap like that. So if you know about a company that's treating other drivers like crap, I'm begging you, you know, out them and boycott them. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, you might really want to be at TMC, but know this: when they treat other people bad, it just means that they're willing to treat you bad. You just haven't given them reason yet. And that's the thing, right? Like, when too many of us, and I'm probably guilty of this too, right? Too many of us are willing to let the other guy get screwed over, and we just keep our head down and keep our mouth shut. But you know, what we're basically admitting to when we do that is that we're afraid to, one, stand up for somebody else, but two, we're just afraid in general. And you know, because why, you know, you work for a company, let's say that I have short hair, but I wanted to grow my hair long. Well, now I work for a company where I'm afraid that if I do, they're going to tell me I got to cut it. I want to keep my head down. I don't want to stir up the pot. But you know what? Nobody's ever gotten anywhere by keeping their mouth shut and not stirring up the pot. Yeah, they kept their job, but at what cost? And you know, it's just kind of funny, right? Like there's a lot of people do a lot of things, and there was a guy who was commenting about this, and you know, people do a lot of things where they don't feel empowered, and so they take it out on other people, how they drive, how they treat truck drivers or whatever. And you know, I just rather feel empowered and not have to, like, you know, be a jerk to people. I'm willing to be a jerk to people, but I don't do it because I don't feel empowered. I do it, you know, I'll treat somebody like a jerk if they are a jerk to me. But if so, you know about TMC, you know they've done this before. If you want to, you know, if I was African American, I'd be like, yep, that isn't a black friendly company, right? But it's also not. It's just not a human friendly company. Sorry, you tell a guy to cut his hair, and you know, no. You know, now maybe some people at TMC want to weigh in on this and say that they did tell him, but like I said, we'll see. There's gonna be some court action on this, and we'll find out about it. And I'll tell you what, if TMC settles this case, that means they know they did this guy wrong. And so we'll see. Hopefully it survives what is called a 12B1 motion. I think that's the rule, federal rule, 12B6. That's a motion to dismiss because of merit, or lack of merit. Hopefully it survives that motion to dismiss, and they can get to discovery. Because once you get to discovery, woo, there's a lot you can find out. So anyway, keep your chin up. Oh, and yeah, just everybody be nice to everybody. And you know, if you know about these people that are harming other people, you know, speak out about it. And I'm willing to amplify. You can come to me. I'll put my email address in the comments. But chief transporters at Gmail. If I can find out about something, I'll amplify it. You know, I think it's high time that we have like a blacklist for these trucking companies. So I'll talk to you guys soon.